Okay, so for today's presentation, we're going to be talking about flashcards and also about pre-trade checklists. Okay, so these are some important things that I think that we should all have, especially this is pre-trade checklist is something that you need to be doing before each session. Okay, and then flashcards is something you should be doing after each session or after the trading week ends. Okay, so we're going to talk about each of those and what to do with that. So let's just ask a question. Why flashcards? Why do you think those are important? Why I think they're important? Why they're so important to learn the method and to get these setups kind of second nature is it's the only way to learn and internalize the setups is through repetition and chart time. Okay, and chart time just doesn't mean just live chart time as well. It means back testing and going through the setups after they've occurred and going through it and figuring out why and what and why things happened. And when you do that, it helps you basically making flashcards will help you reinforce the rules. Okay, help you to remember what to look for on each setup. Okay, because sometimes there's a lot of if you have a couple different setups in your head and you're looking for the rules and trying to remember what's what. Doing these flashcards and marking these things down, it's going to help you remember them, and it'll help you to when you're doing it live, because you can't obviously in a live setting sometimes you have to make decisions pretty quickly. So if you can't remember the rules, or you kind of get flustered and you miss an entry, sometimes that'll cost you, right? So doing this every week and doing this pretty often will help you to reinforce those rules, help you to learn the rules, get them down cold, so that you don't have to go through and look at your notes or figure out what am I looking for here, something like that. So it'll help you with your trade setups. So if you make it a weekly habit to make these flashcards in the pairs that you trade, you're going to shorten your learning curve significantly. Okay, I know there's a lot of people in here that might be working a full-time job also along with trading. Some of you might have more time than others, right? So learning curves are going to be different for everyone. Everyone's situation is going to be different. But if you incorporate these flashcards into your learning, you're gonna shorten that learning curve by a huge amount. Okay. And it also obviously it depends on what you put into it. You're going to get out of it what you put in, but as long as you're making consistent effort, it's going to be shortening the time that it takes for you to learn these things. Okay, so as you compile your database of flashcards, you're also going to begin to learn exactly how the pairs that you're trading, how they move, how they behave. You're going to learn the nature of your pair. Okay, you can make better decisions when you trade because you'll have seen certain situations before, or you'll know how this certain pair reacts at a certain price point or a certain situation. Right? It's going to become a little bit more natural to you when you see these things happen, because you'll be like, oh, okay, I know that this is going to happen because I've seen it before. Okay, so how do we make flashcards and what do we do? So at the end of the trading week, what you're going to do is you're going to look for the setups on your pairs that you trade. Okay, it's best to focus on one or two signature trades. I wouldn't try to make flashcards for everything all at once. If you're doing a database right now, I would just try to focus on one or two solid setups that you like to trade, and then just use that as your reference point for your flashcards. Okay, so maybe you like to trade the 50 EMA bounce, or maybe you like to trade the half bat, or the type 1, type 2, type 3 patterns, right? So focus on one or two of those, and then just go through the week. At the end of the trading week, what you're going to do is you're going to go through all the pairs that you trade, and you're going to look for those setups that have occurred on the charts. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to need a screenshot editor, some kind of software, free or paid. I know there's some really good free ones out there. There's some good paid ones out there. All right. And what you're going to do is on Windows, some suggestions. I have Snagit, I have Lightshot, and I have Jing. All of those are screen captures. They don't, some of them don't have all the markup capabilities, where the objects like the arrows and lines and things like that. But what you can do is once you take a screenshot, you can just go into Microsoft Paint, okay, and just paste it into Paint and then use that to mark up your charts. Okay, that's what I do on Windows. On Mac, what I would suggest is to get an app called MonoSnap. Okay, this thing is really good. Basically, it can be your screenshot software. You can take screenshots of your charts, and then right after that, you can also mark them up on MonoSnap as well. It has everything you need to mark up the charts, so it's very, very convenient. The examples I'm going to show you in this presentation are made from MonoSnap, so you'll be able to see how that works. So for all you Mac users, you can use that. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to make before and after screenshots with markups. Okay. So like an entry screenshot is going to be your before screenshot. Okay. And you're going to mark all the confluences that you see along with all the rules and the confirmations that you need to take the trade. Okay. So what you'll do is you'll make it as an entry. Okay. Like say, a type 1 short or something like that, right? And you'll make it an entry and you'll mark everything that you see, and then also mark the rules that you need to take the trade. Okay. The after screenshot is going to be the results screenshot, right? So then you're going to mark your TP. You're going to mark why you exited the trade, if you exit the trade, things like that. Okay, and then you'll have a sequence where you'll have an entry screenshot and then a results screenshot, and then you can have you can see what the result is. So let's look at some examples of how to do that. All right, so this here is USDJPY, and this is a type 1 short entry. Okay, so if you look here, I've marked off some things. So this is going to be, this is going to be a personal preference thing, based on what you guys see on the charts. Okay, I like to just mark the certain confluences that I see that line up with, like the legs that happen, right? So first leg, what we want to see, obviously, we want to see this come out of the Asian box, right? So this is our visible stop hunt out of the Asian box. You can see that it traps the 200 EMA and creates this first leg, and also just falls short of this 50 figure, this quarter point dotted line, right? The blue tracers up here, also the ADR highs up here, also that's also worth noting. You can put that in there as well, but you can see I just marked what it did right on the first leg. So this is also in the shadow box, right? You can see this is the Frankfurt box, and this is the London Brinks box. So that's also significant. It's close to this Brinks hour. Okay, that's the first leg. So it's closing below the 13, and then what we want to see is a close back above, which it does do right here, but that's kind of like on the line. It doesn't really challenge the second leg here. Doesn't challenge the high. So we'd like to see it challenge the high. This could be something like a half bat, but here is where we see where the second leg happens, right? You got second leg railroad tracks, okay, in the shadow box, closing below the EMAs here, okay, and you can also see here the TDI confirms with the RSI crossing the signal line below the market baseline. So you're going to mark all of these things that you see happening. Okay, this is how you're making. Obviously, you know the result because you know the after. But when you see these things on the chart, what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to recognize, if you're seeing this live, what does it look like live? The before picture, and then what does it look like afterwards, and what were the things that triggered you to take the entry. Okay, so this would have been our entry, and here what I've done is I blocked. This is MonoSnap can do this, right? Microsoft Paint can also do this. What you need to do is just basically draw a rectangle and then fill it with a solid color. Okay, and then what you can do is just block off all the candles that you can see afterwards. You obviously know the result, but you'll make a rectangle here. You'll block off the candles, and then you'll have this, this is like a before an entry, right? So that you don't see the candles. So that's what you have to do. And then what you're going to do is just mark off every single confluence that you see, right? Second leg, row of tracks in the shadow box, okay? Close below the 13 and the 50 EMA, and then you're going to mark your entry right there, okay? TDI confirm, right? So that's how you make your short entry before entry flashcard. All right, now we're looking at the after. All right, this is the after. Okay, so this is results. There was your entry, and then this was the move that happened afterwards, right? 40 pips right here, and then here's where you're also going to exit, right? Mark off why you would exit the trade or where you would have taken your profit. Okay, some of you have a 30 pip take profit, which is like right here at this 0.0, this quarter point. So some of you might have been set your take profit right here. So you put your take profit there and you say 30 pips, and that's where I got my take profit. All right, if you waited here, this is potentially a 40 pip trade, but let's just say you waited here and you saw these railroad tracks here. Okay, I would have exited here because I saw railroad tracks, and I also saw the RSI cross the signal line back to the upside, okay, and give us a shark fin. right? You can see it does hold the 13 for a little bit, so I might have gotten a little bit more out of it, maybe 35 pips here, but then eventually it does come back and close over the 13. So it definitely would have been out by this point, right? So you can mark the things that you did. If you took the trade, you can mark exactly how you took the trade and what happened, and you know, so on and so forth. So it's you know, try to be as detailed as possible as you can. Like I said, everyone's markups are going to be different because they're going to see different things, right? But you want to be able to see the different confluences, and you want to be able to at the results page, you want to be able to kind of do a summary of what happened and why you exited, or you know, etc. Okay, so that's type 1 short USD JPY example. We're going to look at another one. Okay, next example we're going to look at is GBP CHF, another type 1 short. All right, so here you can see this is our Asian box. We'll move outside of the Asian box, first leg, visible stop hunt at the shadow box. Okay, trap through the yesterday's high. You can see a trap through here once and then twice. You can actually argue that this is a first leg here, right? Because it did close below and then back above and then back below. But here you didn't really get a good entry because you have the 50 EMA in the way. So, and then you can see here it comes back up and move to the 13. So if you did take that entry there, you would have had to scratch out right here. So maybe you take a little, you know, 5-6 pip loss on that, but then you look for a re-entry, okay? And the re-entry comes right here. You can see the second leg evening star formation with a big shift candle that closes below all the EMAs. Okay, TDI confirms, RSI is below the market baseline, below the signal line. I've blocked this section off here with this big gray box so you can't see the you know, the candles. And then this is your short entry flashcard, right? So there's your entry. All right, this is the result. Okay, so the entry was here. You can see it came all the way back down, held the 13 all the way down here to 60 pips with the blue tracer down here. Okay, so where would you have exited? Here is, you know, where it closed back above the 13, so maybe you exit the trade when it did that. Okay, or maybe you saw here like a pseudo railroad tracks or morning star formation and you got out there, right? You see the RSI closed back above the signal line. So mark your charts up as detailed as possible. Say, you know, say specifically why you did what and what you would have done if you didn't take the trade. Okay, all right, let's look at another example. All right, Euro JPY type 2 short entry. Okay, so you can see this is our Asian range box. Okay, price has gone up and poked its head out just a little bit outside of the Asian range. First leg sets the high of the day. Okay, just below the 800 EMA and the 50 figure again, right? Just kind of touching it, not quite reaching it, but just staying just below it. And then you can see the first leg confirms by closing below the 13 EMA. Right, second leg comes back up, doesn't quite get to the top, right, and then big shift candle down. Second leg shifts below the 50 EMA, traps through yesterday's high. That's very important to note, right? This is yesterday's high. It came up here. It didn't close below yesterday's high until right here. Okay, this is this shift candle here. It closes below the EMAs. There's your entry. TDI confirms, RSI below the signal line, below the market baseline, and then this is the result. Okay, so there was your entry. All right, kind of rattled around up and down, gave you a little you know, sideways chop, lots of wicks to kind of shake the tree and get you scared, but it never ever closed above the 13 EMA. So it held the 13 the whole way. Okay, even up here and down here, you got 75 pips on this trade if you held all the way down to the bottom. You can see it reached the ADR low, get 1, 2, 3 hits to the low, then you got a cord of wood. Okay, and then a close above the 13 EMA. This is where I would exit the trade. All right. Okay. One more example. GBP CAD Asia range bounce short entry. Okay, so on you know, other setups, continuation setups, things like this, you're just going to put as many things as possible, right? You're going to put the rules down. Obviously, you need an Asia range inducement. You can see inducement out of the box. These wicks here. Right, then it pulls back to the 50 EMA and the 50% range, okay, in the shadow box nonetheless, with a evening star candle formation, right, with a shift candle that shifts below the EMAs. Okay, there's your entry. RSI traps the static, okay, and then crosses below the signal line and also below the market baseline, which is a bonus, right? We don't need that, but it did that anyway, so that makes it even stronger. Okay, so here's the after. Beautiful trade. All right, so there was your entry. All right, and then you can see it held the 13 all the way down, except right here. I drew the fib in here to show you guys, right, that you could have possibly held the trade for longer. I drew the fib to the bottom swing here, but if you move this swing low to this point here, when the price was here, this line was actually the 38.2 line. Okay, so you can see it actually held the 38.2 up there, then proceeded to go down, and then here's where the next swing low point was here, and so you can see it also held the 38.2 at this point as well. And then you could have held the trade there, railroad tracks down all the way here to 100 pips. Okay, so if you were doing the 13 EMA trail with the fib tool trail together, you could have made 100 pips on that trade given that entry. Okay, so this is an example of just how to hold the trade longer, and then you obviously however you market, you can be as detailed as possible, you can be as brief as possible, but as long as you understand it and as long as you're doing it, it's really just the point of this is to have you guys do them. Okay. It's one thing to just look at the charts, okay, but if you don't do them, okay, as in flashcards, if you're not marking charts up and you're doing back testing and stuff like that, it's not going to come as easy to you on the live because you're not going to remember it, right? In a live chart, you have to think on your toes. Sometimes the candles they go slow or they go fast, and sometimes you just miss it, right? You don't know what happened. You come back to it and you're like, oh man, I just missed the entry. I should have taken it there. But that happens. Okay, so you got to be on your toes sometimes, and you have to be able to look at these situations and recognize, because these patterns, they repeat over and over and over again, and if you're doing the markups and the repetition, it's going to come a lot easier to you when it happens in live. Okay, you're going to come across a situation where you're going to be like, I've seen this before, this is what's going to happen, and you're going to be right. Okay, so that's how you do flashcards. What I'm going to also talk to you about is a pre-trade checklist. Okay, we talked about this also in the live room, but about doing a pre-trade checklist for you guys. Okay, because before you trade, you need to have a trading plan. All right, it's hard enough to be keeping track of all the pairs that you guys trade, and then also before live session, and then also remembering all the rules for the setups and things like that. Right, so during live, flashcards is going to help you, in the off session, in the off times, right? When you're studying, like the weekend is now, right? The market's not open. You could be doing flashcards and studying and back testing and things like that, and learning the setups that way. When the market is live, though, you need to have a trading plan. You need to be organized, and you need to have a plan. Okay, having a checklist is going to narrow down your focus and help you identify which pairs you should be watching for setups, because not all of the pairs that you're watching are going to be immediately setting up for something. Okay, but if you have a checklist and you're marking down what's what, okay, maybe you have an idea of, okay, this pair is going to set up first, so I'm just going to watch this pair for now, and then the other ones I'm just going to keep on the back burner until those are starting to set up. Okay, and that's going to keep you focused on the things that you need to be watching, because sometimes you're watching a whole different, a set of pairs, and then you miss a setup on another pair because you weren't able to multitask, or you just it slipped your mind, right? Something like that. But having this checklist is going to help you, like I said, narrow down your focus and help you with watching those setups. Okay, so this is going to be like a 3-step process. What the checklist is going to do, you're going to confirm your level bias on your pairs. Okay, and then you're going to check for the different confluences, okay, for the setup, and then you're going to determine your possible setups, basically. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. All right, and then once you've done that, okay, once you've identified which setups that you should be looking for, like in the near immediate future, then all you're waiting for are your entry triggers, okay, and the confirmation of your entry rules. So basically what you're waiting for is you're waiting for the close of the 13 EMA above or below, right? You're looking for a shift candle, other entry triggers like, navel pattern, railroad tracks, some kind of star pattern, cord of wood, and then you're looking for the TDI to confirm, right? RSI below the market baseline, below the signal line, stuff like that. So, then it just becomes boom, 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 checklist. Okay, I'm looking for this, and then this is this and this, and then the setup happens, close below the 13 EMA, boom, I'm entered. Okay, something like that. Okay, so this is what the pre-trade checklist looks like. Okay, I'm going to have this available for you guys in the chat. I'm just going to put it as a file that you can download. But this is what it looks like. Okay, and you can modify this however you want. You know, I'm just going to give you kind of like this template. These are all the pairs that we go over in the market overview. Obviously, I don't want you trading at all these pairs. Okay, I want you kind of just narrow it down. Okay, so you can just delete these pairs that you're not trading. Okay, you can delete the sells or whatever that you want to do, or you can just keep them on there and just focus on the ones that you trade. However you want to do it, it's fine. Okay, that's up to you. All right, but this is how it's going to go. Okay, so three-step process, right? The first step is going to be identifying your level bias. Okay, so let's say you're trading UJ, or let's say you're trading EU. UJ currently we're in a level 3 peak condition, right? So what you do is there's a couple ways to do this. You can type stuff in here, right? Or what I think is easier is you have this paint fill here, okay? And you can use two different colors, because really you're either going long or you're going short, right? So if you're going long, what you can do is set the color for long, which I have as green. Okay, and then if I have a level 3 long condition, which what UJ is in right now, I would just fill this box in green, okay, with a paint fill. Okay, so I have a green box. I know that I'm looking for longs, and I'm in level 3. Okay, so like for EU, we're currently at a level 2 long, right? So I'd fill this box green here for this level 2, right? You see we're in a level 3 peak short, so I would fill this box here with a red for level 3 short. Okay, so on and so forth, stuff like that. All right, so then what you'll have is your bias for your pair, okay, denoted by the color. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go through and look for your trap throughs or your confluences. Okay, so you have the daily high low, right, which is the blue tracer. Then you have the previous week high low, which is the green line. You have your quarter points, okay, the 0 figures, the 50 figures. You have your TDI shark fin extremes. Okay, so when you look at the RSI and the TDI, do you have a shark fin? Okay, is it at the extreme level? Is it out of the band? Extreme shark fin. Okay, if it is and you're going long, then you mark it green. If it's not and it's going short, then you mark it red. Okay, so like I said, just two different colors. Or you can just type in long or short, you know, if that's easier for you. If you want to do that, type in long, TDI shark fin, I'm going long, TDI shark fin, I'm going short. TDI 1-1 is if you have a out of the band, in the band situation, right? So if you have a TDI shark fin extreme out of the band and then back in the band, you have a TDI 1-1. I just call that a 1-1, right? So one out of the band, one in the band, and then you would mark that long or short. Okay, ADR exceeded. When the ADR turns red, that means ADR is exceeded, right? This is for like New York reversal, or if you get close to New York reversal time, and the ADR is exceeded, and you have that red lettering and the red line, then you're looking for a New York reversal at that point, right? And you look, if you see other confluences along with it that line up with it, then you can look for that reversal setup. Okay, harmonics. Okay, H1 and H4. Do you have an H1 harmonic? Do you have an H4 harmonic? Is it long? Is it short? Then you put the colors in there, right? If it's long, you put green. If it's red, you put short. And then or you can type long or short, right? So that's what you're going to have. You're going to have a bias. You're going to have a number of different confluences. It's best to have 2 or 3 confluences or more, okay, to have a setup. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look for a possible setup. Now, I've already pre-filled in these setup types, with these setups, but you can fill in with whatever it is that your signature trade is and you're looking to trade. Okay, so possible setup 1, type 1, type 2, type 3, and then a possible trade setup 2 would be like a continuation, like a 50 EMA bounce, Asia range bounce, or half bat, something like that, right? And then you would put either long or short. So if I have a possible setup in here, this is what I'm looking at right now. So I have my my level bias, I have my confluences, and then I have a possible setup of a type 2 short, right, or a 50 EMA bounce long or something like that, right? So if I see colors in here, if I see that I'm looking for a possible trade setup in here, then these are the pairs that I'm more focused on, right? These are the ones that I'm watching for that session, okay, and if they play out or not. Okay, so here in these boxes, you can type in whatever setups you wanted to monitor. Okay, it doesn't have to be these ones. It can be whatever you want. Okay, so utilize the checklist however you like. Okay, you can make changes to it. You can, edit it however you want. I'm just giving you guys the template to use. And then what you want to do is you want to have this open next to your chart or somewhere where it's accessible. It'd be great if you had, like a second screen or something like that you can put it off to the side, and then just, as you're going through your pairs and looking at them, doing your daily routine and your pre-trade routine, whatever it is, then you're just marking this off each one, right? So let's say you trade EU and GU. All right, so EU is in a level 2 short, you mark that, or sorry, EU is a level 2 long, so you mark that green. GU is a level 1 short, so you mark that here red, right? And then you go through the different confluences as you see them, right, on the charts, and you mark them down. The more confluences you have, the better, and then the possible trade setups that you would see. So you have this organized list, basically telling you that you have all these things checked off, and this is what you should be looking for. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, and I think that should help out a lot of you guys, with your pre-trade routines. Okay, so I'm gonna have this available for you guys to download in the chats. Just look for the link. I'm going to post this up, and if you have any questions on any of this, guys, on the flashcards, making the flashcards, or this checklist, please let me know. Okay. Otherwise, that's going to do it for today's webinar, and I will see you guys on the next one next week. Thanks, guys. Take care.